Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's July 7th, and these are your headlines. First up, it's tuna time. We have reports of bluefin and yellowfin tuna this week. We're also hearing about a continuation of the giant bass bite out at Block Island. And fluke fishing continues to get better and better in Long Island Sound. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
So before we get into the report, let's just do our news items. Let's get those out of the way. First up, of course, is the giveaway, which ends today. You have until midnight tonight to catch that fish. I did get another great photo this week, so there are 3 that are definitely in the running. A lot of other really solid photos that came in. And, so this round is about to end. We'll announce that winner next week, and we'll start another one. So if you don't know how to get them into me, you can email them to me at danderson@thefisherman.com, or you can text them to me at my work number, which you can find in the magazine. And the only stipulations are that the fish has to be recently caught. It has to show you in the photo, so it can't be your foot or something like that. But that's it. Now on to the newsy things. We have 2 closures to talk about. First up, short fin mako off the list. It's going to be off the list for quite some time. I've seen conflicting reports. Who knows how long it could be, but some say it could take as many as 50 years for that stock to rebuild. So chances are I won't be around to see it. But that's one thing off the list. Even if you catch one by accident and it dies during the fight, you have to put that fish back in the water. They are illegal to possess, and you don't want to mess with that one. The other closure is giant bluefin tuna. Fish over 73 inches are closed through the end of the year. And that closure is effective now. It already happened. And so if you're out there tuna fishing this week, got to try to avoid the big ones. And if you catch one, you got to pop that hook right at the boat. And don't even think about taking it home, because, again, that's a big no-no with big fines attached.
And here are the standings as of May 7th for the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. There is slight movement in total points for the top 3 contestants due to new entries in Sea Robin and Fluke, but no changes in position. First place is Dean Aiello with 21 points. Second place is Rob Carazano with 18 points. Third place is Garrett Weir with 16 points. Fourth place is Daniel Del Rosario with 10 points. We did see a new first place Sea Robin entry from James Batsler from Mastic, New York with a monster 3.7 pound fish. In the fluke category, Matt Goodwin of West Islip, New York entered a 9.44 pound flatty. Lara DiLorenzo Sims from Milford, New Jersey weighed in a 8.94 pound fluke, and Jerry Zordon from Torrington, Connecticut entered a 8.64 pound fluke. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge is a Fisherman subscriber-only multi-species fishing competition with a chance to win a new Steigercraft 23 Miami powered by Yamaha, along with many other great prizes. Visit thefisherman.com to subscribe and get all the details so you can be part of the action.
This week, it was all about the striped bass, and we had 2 big ones entered. The first was a 47-incher caught by Bob Wagner on July 3rd. That was good enough for 3rd place in the category. And then we had a new competitor hit the board. That was Paul Stanford with a 48.5-incher, also caught on July 3rd. Must have been a good day for stripers. That gives him first place in the category and 3 points. We did take a few points away from the overall leader, Justin Oser, who now has 11 points, still leading the competition. Mike Radzaszewski is holding down second with 4 points, and there's a whole armload of you guys out there with 3 points. But there's still a long way to go in this thing. Lots of fish to be caught. Good luck out there, and we'll see what happens next week.
So, over in Massachusetts, things really didn't change that much this week, with a few exceptions, but especially on the striper front. So, James Jukes wasn't able to send us a report this week, said he was out of the loop. Things that I've heard from up there and up into Maine, bass fishing's been better this week. In southern Maine, I've heard about a lot of fish in that slot to 30-pound range. Some really nice fish being taken. Plugs and eels, chunks, they're all getting it done. And then down in Plum Island and kind of heading a little bit further south down to like Gloucester from there, seems like the bass fishing picked up a little bit. I've been hearing about some good fish on Joppa Flats. I've been hearing about some good fish outside the river. I've got to believe that, that sort of interchange has got to lead to some better fishing at the mouth of the Merrimack as well. Boat fishermen are reporting catching good numbers of nice fish. Seem to be, paying attention or hanging with those mackerel schools. So if you can find some macks, you're probably going to find some bass. Fish are in some deeper water, 40 to 60 feet is what I've been hearing from most guys. Heading south from there, more bass news, still very good bass fishing all around the Boston Harbor Islands. And then off those ledges right down to Plymouth. Seems to be a real stronghold of stripers right now, from slots up to 40-something pounds, maybe even bigger. So that's another place you can keep an eye on if you're looking for some bigger bass. And then, as I talked about last week, we had those sort of open water bass in Cape Cod Bay. That's been kind of focused down to the area between Billingsgate Shoal and P-Town. So it's basically the wrist of Cape Cod. That seems to be where that bite is taking place. Most of these fish are being caught snapping wire, but they are coming to the surface at times. So guys are casting big top waters at them. And you can certainly catch them on live mackerel or live bunker or pogies, as you guys call them up in Mass. Going around the end of the Cape, more bass news. The beaches on the outer part of the Cape are putting out some nice fish. Definitely heard of some fish up into the 30-pound class this week. Slender profiles are getting it done. SP minnows, hydro minnows, red fins. What's the other one? The mag darter. Those things are all catching fish. I guarantee you can get them on needlefish. You can get them on sluggos. Just a lot of good fishing going on in that area right now. And it's definitely a night thing from the beaches. There's also some nice bass being taken from like the monomoy rips from the boats. Those guys are getting them during the day. Soft plastics, snapping wire, and throwing some top waters too. Some big bluefish in that area as well. So lots of fish to be caught in that region. If you're looking for fluke, I didn't hear that much from Nantucket this week. It's been more the shoals inside Nantucket Sound and Vineyard Sound. So like Lucas Shoal, Horseshoe Shoal, Hedge Fence, and many of the other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. All these sort of sand waves out there are putting out some fish right now. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. I did get some surf reports from Martha's Vineyard this week, and the bass fishing sounds like it's been pretty good on the North Shore. Fish from 15 pounds up to the low 30-pound class, for the best I can tell. And most of these fish are being caught on plugs, which is kind of exciting. And blue fishing remains very good on the outside of the vineyard, on the south side. As we head into Buzzards Bay, the striper fishing has been pretty slow, but there's been some big bluefish around, especially as you get up closer to the canal, and the sea bass fishing has been really good around the Elizabeth Islands. Inside the canal itself, I talked to East End Eddie today, and he said it seems like all the canal guys are running away from the canal. Just because you're getting so many good reports from other areas, canal's just having an off year so far. And but if there's one thing that I can tell you from my extensive experience fishing the canal, is that when people start to give up, there's the canal gods they take over. So I would expect one of these next two sets of tides, and maybe it's this full moon with these really strong tides, all these guys are going to be out fishing the beaches and over in Rhode Island and up in Plymouth, and you watch. The canal's going to have a couple of really good days. So look for that to happen by the end of the month. And if you are a hardcore canal guy, don't forget about the Fishing for the Mission 22 tournament. That's going on the last set of tides of the month. And you can sign up for that at skeltonslurecompany.com. Check out all the details there. It's for a great charity, and it's going to be a cool event. Now, offshore, we are starting to hear more and more tuna reports now. From the Sword to Crab Ledge up to Stellwagen, we're hearing about a lot of fishing, a lot of fish being caught, and a lot of fish showing. It seems like more of these fish are being caught in artificials right now, which is kind of cool. And the fish are mostly under giant size, which is a good thing since you can't legally keep a giant right now. And then going way out, heading out to the canyons, we are starting to hear more and more reports now of yellowfins and some of the other far offshore species starting to fire up. So that fishery, they're all coming together at one time. Pretty exciting stuff, and as these weeks progress, we'll have more and more news on that. Lastly, in Massachusetts, we're going to talk about the freshwater report. We're going to toss it over to Leyve and hear what he's seeing on the inland side of things.
Fishing's been phenomenal, obviously, for especially species like largemouth bass and channel cats. And so speaking of channel cats, next weekend is the Post 351 Catfish Derby out of Holyoke. So if anybody's interested, that goes on all weekend long, I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And usually some really nice channel cats come over the railings or whatever you want to call the river, the Connecticut River, whether you're fishing from boat or from shore. We're actually checking out a few rivers today looking for some bait. We might give it a shot, I don't know yet, but we're definitely going to do some catfish fishing for catfish this week. Sorry, I had a bug on my nose. Other than that, you know, the warm water fishing is just been outstanding. Largemouth bass, sunfish, crappie, even bowfin out here in Western Mass. I don't know if any of the readers are familiar with bowfin. They are not a native species to Massachusetts, but they are native very close. So upstate New York and so on has always had bowfin, and they've been introduced into the Connecticut River along as well as the Taunton River. Those are probably the two biggest fisheries other than D.W. Fields Park in Brockton. Bowfin are hugely mistaken for snakeheads all the time. They're not as destructive, and they're great fighters, great species to target, and this is a good time of the year to do that. You can catch them on conventional bass gear, so they will hit top water, spinner baits, so on, or you can fish them with live bait like you would largemouth bass under a bobber. They are nocturnal fish, so they do well, better at low light, so you know, dusk and dawn or nighttime is a good time to target bowfin, but you can catch them all day long. Other than that, I think that's it. You know, trout fishing is good. You can hit the Deerfield or Swift, though you have to kind of kayakers and float tubers and swimmers right now. It makes it kind of hard in some of the rivers to fish for some of the trout. So if you do plan to chase trout, I would do it early mornings or evenings. And remember, it is warm, so you know, catch and release as soon as possible if you're not planning to take those fish and consume them. Other than that, carp fishing is pretty good. You know, chum up an area anywhere in the rivers or lakes that have carp, and you know, go at it from there. So yeah, that's all I got this week. Stay tuned. Hopefully, if we do enter the Catfish Derby, we do well. If not, hopefully we do well catfishing, period. So catch you guys next week. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Roy. Thanks for the report, and we'll check in with you next week. And that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites.
Over in Rhode Island, the main focus right now is striped bass. There are multiple areas where striped bass fishing is hot. The area off of Newport over to Jamestown and then kind of down to Point Judith, that's been one hot zone. There's a lot of really nice fish in there. Guys are catching fish from the surf in that area. Even in the daytime, I've seen some reports of some nice fish being caught on top waters, mostly in the slot size, but a couple bigger ones, up to 20 pounds. And there's been some really nice fish taken in daylight by the boat guys, trolling tube and worm, snapping wire off Newport and off Jamestown. But the real heavy hitting is going on out of Block Island. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Southwest Ledge is the Jurassic Park of striper fishing, and it's holding true to that moniker this year. I've seen some absolute pigs caught this week. One monster that I actually didn't even think was a real photo when I first saw it, caught by my friend Chris Lawton. Got that shot here. Absolute beast being caught at the ledge. Live eels, rubber eels, flutter spoons, snapping wire. Guys are doing it using a lot of different methods. A lot of nice fish being caught out there. There has also been very good sea bassing and very good fluking out there. Although the fluking is definitely not as good as we've seen it in the past, but it's better than it has been. So let's hope that it continues to improve. But the sea bass has been very good in that 70 to 90 foot range. And so that's another thing you can hang your hat on there. Breachways this week, kind of up and down, but some better fish were taken. Fish, some slot fish, but some bigger fish were reported. It just sounds like guys are working a little harder for those fish over the last couple days, but they are there. and there's been some bluefish and some scup there in the daytime for the bait dunkers or those throwing topwater plugs. And yeah, that's pretty much just. Actually, before we wrap up Rhode Island, let's toss it over to Coral Aiello and hear what she's seeing in the Rhode Island waters this week.
Hi Dave, Coral here from Sara Charters with the Rhode Island Fishing Report. Not much has changed. I mean, a lot of offshore action happening in Cape Cod. Hopefully it makes its way over closer to Rhode Island, so it's not much of a steam for us. But a lot of bluefin, 70 to 100 pound bluefin are being caught on top water. Lots of blitzes going on. For inshore, the striper bite continues to be very good. The bluefish are still around. There's really big ones around. The sand eels are in, so the fish are just gorging themselves with sand eels, making a lot of top water action happening throughout basically all day, middle of the day, which is pretty cool. The sea bass bite continues to pick up. We're getting a lot of them in deep water, around 70 feet. Nice big blueheads, and of course the fluke. Fluke's always a grind in Rhode Island, so definitely have to grind for those keeper fluke. But other than that, July is looking pretty good.
Thank you, Coral. Appreciate the report, and hopefully we'll hear from you again soon.
Hey Dave, it's John. JL Charters, Point Judith, Rhode Island. The fishing this week has been pretty good for me. I've had 3 bottom fishing charters and a couple of striped bass charters. The bottom fishing charters for me have been on the South Shore between Point Jude Lighthouse and west of Charlestown. We're mostly focusing on sea bass and then getting a fluke as a bycatch. I will put down some fluke rigs, picking up sea bass on those fluke rigs, but we also pulled 2 jumbos yesterday, which was fun. And I've had kids fishing with me the past few times, and the kids, we've gone up into shallow water, the scup, fishing for big scup. The scup are on structure now, so if you know of any pieces in shallow, 19 feet, 25 feet, you can get some really big porgies on freshwater gear. The kids love it. The striped bass fishing around Block Island for me has been good. I'm fishing wire line. We get them every time. But I hear buddies of mine doing well on diamond jigs. The eel bite during the day has been very good. There's a lot of big fish. The blues moved in last week. When the blues moved in, the bass kind of dissipated, but I heard the bite today was quite good. So yeah, we got a kind of a summer fishing right now, and the fishing's good. You still got to work for it like we do every year. Not every day is amazing. We got some east wind coming. We'll see what that does. Anyway, that's it. Hope all is well. Take care.
And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Over in Connecticut, bass fishing still dominating. We are starting to see more and more sort of mixing with guys that are chasing fluke, but bass fishing still leading the way. Definitely some fish being caught at night in the race. A lot of bluefish in the race right now, though, so you're going to have to dodge the teeth a little bit. One area that's been especially good right now is the Connecticut River, and for a little bit more on how good the Connecticut River area has been, let's toss it over to Mike Roy from Real Cash Charters.
Hey, what's up, guys? For this week's fishing report, you can expect to see some changes from the spring pattern and the striped bass moving out into their summer patterns and their summer areas. So I would expect to see some fish moving around this week, possibly see some fish showing up on some reefs that may have not had fish, or maybe they didn't have as many fish. So I would anticipate that pattern change to occur over the next week. Bait is still plentiful. There's plenty of full-size adult bunker. All the rivers, estuaries, and harbors pretty much have it now, as well as some lingering out in the sound. Bluefish seem to be a bit thicker this year. We're getting a lot of our baits bit in half. Pretty much every trip we're having a few bunker that are getting bit in half. So that's a good sign for folks that want to catch some bluefish. There's definitely more around this year. The only thing missing right now is schoolie stripers. I'm not seeing many schoolie stripers. Most of the stripers are slot size, over slot, and some big fish as well in the 40-plus pound range. Black sea bass, that's another fish that you're going to start to see move around. So where you've been catching them the past month, I would expect to see them moving out of those areas and showing up in some new territory. And New York is now open for sea bass. So with that being said, that's all I have for you. Good luck.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the report, man. And we'll talk next week. Get you back in here. Thank you. Heading out from there, that's kind of one of the first areas where the sea bass fishing has been good, just off of the Connecticut River, just off of Niantic Bay, kind of heading, due south into New York waters, all those ledges and humps and bumps out there, holding some decent to nice sea bass. Still haven't heard of any really big ones caught there, but definitely a lot of bites, a lot of fish coming over the rail, a lot of action. And that holds true as you head west from there out to like Southwest and 6 Mile. And Faulkner's, all those areas are holding lots of these fish, and plenty of scup too on some of the shallower humps. So bottom fishing is very good in that range. Striper fishing also very good. Southwest Reef and areas around there. This is getting to be that time of year when you can really get a monster out of some of those zones. As we head further west, that's when the fluking is starting to get more exciting, and the chunking for stripers are still holding on. Still some really big fish being caught. But for a deeper dive on all of that, let's toss it over to Max from Fisherman's World and hear what he's got to say on the matter.
The striped bass fishing in our area is taking a slow turn. It's starting to slow down a little with a lot of the migrating fish moving through, and they're now to our east, places like Middle Ground all the way to the Connecticut River. In our local waters, shallow around the island, the bite's been good first light and last light. A lot of these fish are going to be resident fish now, setting up shop for the summer. Throwing stuff like topwater plugs in the morning, small bucktails, rapalas, SP minnows all work well. Guys chunking at night shallow are pouring a good bite. A lot of slot fish around, and then some over slot. And the guys pitching live bunker shallow around our shallow water reefs are pouring a good bite too. Most of the action is going to be first light and sunset, and then guys chunking at night. On our deeper water reefs, there are some big fish to be had. We've seen fish to over 35 pounds this past week. So if you want to get out and chunk, I would definitely, advise to do that at the nighttime hours. Always the outgoing tide at places like 28C and 11B are the best. Porgy fishing in our waters is red hot right now, so guys getting out with their family and kids, that's only a fun fishery to get onto. So any shallow water reef or even the deep water reefs will hold tons of porgies. Remember to bring clam chum, and on their deep water reefs you'll get a lot of sea bass mixed in. If you want to target sea bass, I would definitely recommend to get on some deeper water wrecks. They'll take, jigs and your bait, and I know guys that limit out really fast on the wrecks. And then fluke fishing, a little slow. Guys are really pounding these areas to find their limit or even close to a limit. We've seen fish to 10 pounds this week, but they only got 2 fish. That group that I know, that was Jeff Ruggieri. And then like 26, 24, you definitely get out a little deeper water now, like 30 to 50 feet. If you do catch a keeper, I'd mark the spot and then keep drifting. Guys that want to go across places like Eaton's Neck and Smithtown Bay is a good bet too. Thanks and good luck.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate the report. Glad to see you got enough sleep to do one this week. And we'll be looking for another one from you next week. So appreciate that. And to wrap this whole thing up, let's head on down to Paradise and hear what's going on at Marina Pez Vela in Costa Rica.
Hey guys, checking in from Costa Rica with this week's fishing report. This week we've had a wide open tuna bite, really close to Capos, only 15 to 18 miles out. We've had tuna almost every day. Lots of fish in the 30 to 40 pound range, just some incredible fishing. Inshore, we got some big news. There was a world record snook caught here this week at the Marina Pez Vela. Congratulations to Captain Roy Zapata for an almost 44 pound snook caught on 6 pound line. Pending IGFA world record. Good luck with that one, guys. Also, we've had some sailfish. The sailfish bite's been really good this week. Would love to see you guys down here in Costa Rica. Hope to see you soon, and back to you.
And that's what I have for you guys this week in the reports. Hopefully you find them useful. I know it's July, but I think it's still more like June fishing-wise. Still got really good shots at getting some big stripers, especially Block Island. But man, there's big fish everywhere right now. And there's no reason to think that they're not going to stick around for a while. Fluking's looking better, and overall, I think the fishing just looks great right now. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I suggest heading over to the website and checking out what we've got going on there. There's enough free content there to give you a little flavor of what we offer. I think you'd be impressed. I always say it's the best 30 bucks you can spend in fishing, but if you're still not interested after you peruse the website and you kind of realize that you're getting 3 magazines in one, you're getting the reports from the entire East Coast, all for 30 bucks. But if you're still not, like I said, if you're still not interested, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing down there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys watching the report, and we'll see you guys next week.